And what a beautiful day. Welcome everyone to Athens, Greece, the birthplace of the first modern Olympic Games and the ancient city that will now host a brand new season of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. I'm Trace Worthington alongside Joey Zuber, the expert commentator for cliff diving, bringing you live coverage of the first stop of the 2024 World Series. It's been great to be back with you, Joey.
Yeah, man, likewise.
We have 8 stops this year. It all kicks off right here in Athens. I'm looking forward to this one. And a lot of diving. We're going to check out round 2 and 3.
Exactly.
A lot of stuff happening.
And Trace, I've got to say, this is one of the most idyllic competitions to start with. I mean, beautiful scenery, great weather, flat water, and perfect cliff faces for this exciting sport.
What do you think it's going to take with 8 stops this season? It takes a lot of stamina and a lot of mental strength to get through this series for the divers.
It is. I mean, it's nerve-wracking. Every time you go to competition, it takes a lot of nervous energy out of you and physically demanding.
What a beautiful area right here. I mean, you have the ocean right next to the beautiful Lake Vouliagmeni, and we will kick things off in Greece right here for the 8-stop series. Next, we head to Boston, USA. That's stop number 2. Poignano Mare, Italy. That's back on the schedule. Before the Causeway Coast of Ireland. Before Oslo, Norway. We've been there before. Huge crowds. Montreal, Canada makes its debut as a stop. Then we go to Antalya, Turkey before the grand finale in close to your hometown, Sydney,
good
Australia.
Old Oz, hey? Great way to cap off the season.
All right. Again, I'm Trace. This is Joey. We also have the third member of our broadcast team, David O'Caoimh, is going to be hanging out with us water side. He's going to be roaming all around the lake. Dave, how's it going out there? What's happening?
It's great to be here, and I have to say the atmosphere is sublime. Right now I'm up, so just yesterday this is where off the cliff dives took place, and then we've got the 21 and 27 meter platform just behind me. The divers are getting ready, they've had their warm-up. There is a nice kind of vibe around the place. Everyone's excited to be back for the 2024 series. As you guys alluded to, a big packed out series. And as a whole, the place is amazing. The temperature is lovely and warm. There is that nice coastal breeze, which does cool people down, particularly after this kind of off-road and hike here that you have to get to in terms of getting up to the platforms. But yeah, as a whole, rounds 2 and 3 today going to be broadcasted here. We're really excited, and hopefully I'll be able to bring you a little bit behind the scenes and talk to some of the divers throughout the broadcast.
Yeah, man, we'll have fun up there, and yeah, show us the whole area, and we're going to be taking questions from people all day long that are watching our YouTube Live, and we'll try to answer those questions the best we possibly can. So Dave will be up there roaming around. I feel a little bit safer right here in the broadcast.
Yes, we're protected.
So, yeah,
here's our little cave.
27 meters, 90 feet above the water for the men, and the women 70 feet.
Well, actually, I'm jealous. I'd rather be there.
You would.
But on the paddleboard, in the boat.
Joey Zuber, former cliff diver and champion cliff diver in this sport, and he'll take us through it. He has a lot of great things to say and a lot of great things to add, and we have so much to talk about here at the first stop of the series. But if you want to know how it all works,
I do. We all do.
Each Red Bull cliff diving event features 8 permanent and 4 wildcard divers per gender. There are 4 rounds of diving with varying levels of difficulty. The panel of 5 judges has less than 3 seconds to evaluate the parts of each dive. The judges then award scores from 0 to 10. The highest and lowest scores are eliminated, and the remaining 3 added together. This total, multiplied by the degree of difficulty, gives the dive score. And all 4 dives are added together for the event score. Finally, series points are awarded at every event, with a bonus point for the best dive of the competition. At the end of the series, the divers with the highest series points are awarded the King Kahikili Trophy.
The King Kahikili Trophy.
Yeah.
Sure. Only 5 men have won the King Kahikili Trophy. Konstantin Popovic is one of them, and he won it last season. First name that's etched on the King Kahikili Trophy. that's not named Gary Hunt in 6 years.
I know. Yeah, he broke the streak, but deservedly so. I mean, he put on a fine performance.
And remember to send us your questions. You guys will try to do our best to answer them. Again, you have Joey right here as the expert. We have David O'Caoimh on site. So YouTube or TikTok at Red Bull Cliff Diving. We are live for round 2 and 3. Tomorrow, by the way, the big show also underway with round 4. All 4 rounds count in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. That'll be tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. CESD live on Red Bull TV. And Joey and I will take you through that along with David O'Caoimh as well. Big crowd on hand here at Lake Vouliagmeni in Athens, Greece. If you just joined us, Trace Worthington, Joey Zuber, for stop number 1 of 8. And this is going to be a doozer. I'm loving it.
A doozer.
Doozer. I'm throwing out all kinds of new stuff this season, Joey.
No.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, but like I said before, idyllic conditions, very flat and calm water. It's a pretty unique location, being that it's a lake and so close to the ocean as well. So that's great for the athletes. Nice and flat and calm. So the height of the platforms, 21 meters for the women, 27 for the men. So 21 meters, that's around about 70 feet. For you Americans out there,
American crew,
you know, got to keep it out there. Speaking of Americans, that's David Coulturi on the left there and Ellie Smart on the right. With the men, 27 meters, that's 90 feet. And that's high and a tough impact.
David Coulturi, the veteran diver who began back in 2009 or 2011 when he made his debut in Boston. And that's our next stop on the circuit. Ellie Smart, great diver on the women's side, ended the series 3rd last year. Catelyn Preda was in that shot too. Looking forward to this. And at the beginning of the season, Joey, as a former diver, what are the nerves like the first stop in the series? I mean, you have to be consistent all the way through the season as we look at the hike to the top first, though.
Sometimes you're shaking off, A, the competition rust, and B, for some of the athletes, they don't always have the opportunity to train on those heights regularly. So the first stop can be pretty daunting for some of the athletes. You get up there and you get, poof, is it like this, really? You know, you have a few little doubts in your mind, like, can I do this? But you've just got to get that first one underway. And once you've done that one, it's nice and relieving. You kind of settle into your groove again. But it's always nerve-wracking when you're standing on the platform. And if you're asking us, do the athletes have no fear? Well, we always have fear standing on the platform. And this man right here knows all about that.
There's Orlando Duque, Red Bull Cliff Diving legend and pioneer. He's our World Series sports director. And here in Athens, actually, is where he won, or actually was awarded, the King Kakila Trophy in 2009 at the final stop, which took place right here at this facility. That was the only time that he had won the King Kakila Trophy.
Yeah, the inaugural year of the series, 2009.
Yeah, but he does a great job officiating and making everything, making sure everything's safe for the divers, and that is so key, Joey. And we'll get into that because we have a lot going on here throughout the broadcast, but a lot happening. We'll get you into those details on what the safety is and what Orlando's making sure is in place. As we look at the women's start list for round number 2, it is the lowest score, so place number 12 runs first. It's reverse order, so Xanthia Panisi had that low score, uncharacteristic of the Aussie, who was second last season at the final stop. And so we look at Anna Batter, the veteran diver, coming in. Will dive number 7. Maylee Carpenter from the United States will dive 8th. Then you get into the top 4 right here. Young Alyssa Castetti of Italy, and then Rhiannon Iflin, the 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion. She runs number 10. A lot of pressure on her from Molly Carlson. But how about Simone Leadhead, the youngster?
Yeah, leading the way after round 1.
She's only been in, 5 events, I think, in her life?
And she doesn't have very much experience in cliff diving, period. But to be able to perform so well with that first round directly from the rock face, she's used to diving in a traditional environment, fixed platforms, indoors where you don't have to deal with the wild elements, wind and waves and so forth. So luckily we don't have to deal with those big choppy seas like we see at some other events. But nonetheless, to lead the way, that's a great cup of confidence.
So this is Xanthia Panisi to lead off the 12 women in the second of 4 rounds. Today, live, we will see round 2 and 3. All 4 rounds are added together. The 25-year-old from Brisbane, Australia. Incredible 2002, over your place. Olympics will be there.
Yeah, Brisbane 32. We're very proud of that fact.
Joey, she had an incredible 2023 season, earning 4 podiums out of 5 stops. She even missed a stop last season because of it.
Yeah, and still came in 3rd overall. It was remarkable.
Remarkable. But break down what we're about to see here, the degree of difficulty, all the good stuff.
Okay, so Yesterday we had round 1, which is the off the cliff dive. That's the required dive, the more simple dive, so you see less somersaults and twists. But now we're actually starting to step it up. It's the intermediate round, so you're going to start to see more somersaults and twists. But then when we get into that third round, you'll really start to see the athletes push the limits in terms of how many somersaults and twists they can do, and you'll see very complicated maneuvers. But there's nothing simple about this dive, let me tell you. So forward, 3 somersaults with a half twist. So forward, meaning standing forwards on the platform. In the sport of cliff diving, you have different directions, and we'll explain that more throughout the show.
For those new, Joey, this is pretty cool. We've never broadcasted round 2 and 3 live.
No,
so
and that's a good point.
Yeah.
And that's great for you guys out there, all the fans and the spectators, to understand a little bit more about the sport. Of course, we'll broadcast the 4th and final round tomorrow, which will go on Red Bull TV. But it's great for you to get a little insight into what happens behind the scenes, what it's like to be on the cliff face with the athletes. We've got some great shots for you, some great drone shots at above camera angles to give you the bird's eye view.
A lot of people weighing in. Not too many questions yet for us, just a lot of yay Molly, let's go. Yay Aiden, let's go.
There's a lot of
like
some Molly fans out there. At 422 of them.
Here we go. Xanthi Panisi, the 25-year-old Aussie, kicking things off, the first of 12 women divers. Oh, great opening dive by Xanthi Panisi, who needs a lot of points and a big comeback after her first round dive. Not the score she normally wanted there, Joey, but I tell you what, somebody weighed in on some questions they want to know right now. First of all, you know, everyone knows that this is probably a dangerous sport. We'll get you into that a little bit later, but is it more of a physical or mental sport for you when you dove?
I think it's everything. I think you can't just say it's just mental and just physical. But I can say this, the better prepared you are, the less nervous you will feel. So there is no substitute for hard work.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got to put in the time and the effort working on the lower heights, making sure you do the complicated maneuvers, lots of somersaults and twists, so you develop really good aerial awareness. Aerial awareness meaning that you need to understand what's up and what's down and where you are in the air. And when you work on that with lots of repetitions back at your pool, that will help you feel more comfortable when it comes time to stand on this daunting 21-meter cliff.
Now, there are 5 judges, okay? So they take the high and the low of those, they throw those out, and the remaining 3 folks are multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So round 2, she will get a 74.80, and when you add the first and second round together, 111.20 for Xanthi Panisi. Folks in the water enjoying the warm water. Somebody asked what the depth is. It's a really deep lagoon. I mean, very, very deep lagoon. So there's no problems there. No one's going to hit the bottom as we look at the 7-time overall champion, Rhiannon Ifland. The Aussie sensation getting warmed up. We'll go back to the top for Amy Harrison of Canada, the 29-year-old.
Arms above the head, spinning in towards the platform. So in with 2 somersaults, half twist.
Boom, Amy Harrison, who only was in 2 stops last season, gets invited to the season opener. Johnny Paredes, we'll see him on the men's side in a little bit.
Now, Amy actually struggled with this dive. I was watching the warm-up dive, so it's been quite a while since she's had a lot of regular practice from that height, so she was definitely shaking off the competition rust, as we said earlier, in the warm-up dive. It's great to see her make those corrections, and that's the point about having those warm-up dives before the competition. It's really important because quite often you'll have the warm-up dive be a little bit too slow or a little bit too fast, and that helps you gauge what to do for the next dive. So in her head, she would have been like, the last time I was a little bit too slow, so I know I need to throw a little bit harder to get more rotation to make sure I have enough time to finish the dive. And you've only got 2.8 seconds of free fall, and a lot has to go right in that time as you hurtle your way down. pretty fast speeds, Trace.
How do you lead up to this if you're wanting to get into cliff diving? Just springboard diving?
Get up there and chuck and see what happens.
Yeah.
Just hope for the best. What could possibly go wrong?
That's what I did in skiing, actually. I just threw myself off some jumps and did some flips back.
No. But anyway, but in all seriousness, yeah, you've got to work your way up slowly in increments. So some of us started performing in diving shows, and you have these ladders and you have these perches where you can actually start at 10 meters, unlatch it, move your way up to 12, 14, 16, 18. That's the way to do it. The permanent facilities tend to have 10, 12, say 15 meters, and then 20. Hey, fine entry.
Yana Nasirava, the independent athlete, veteran diver, 31 years old, gets after it, goes quick into Lake Vuligemeni. Warm waters in Lake Vuligemeni, by the way, and the temperatures outside, 26, 27 degrees Celsius is the temperature, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Perfect weather for diving, by the way. Just no wind, but not too hot, not too cold.
And you do need, well, it's nice to have good conditions. Sometimes we do see some events, you know, for example, we'll be in Northern Ireland, and I dare say it's probably won't be as warm as here. But when it is warmer, it's easier on the athletes. You know, the muscles are nice and loose and limber. And just make sure that means that you can move the arms a little bit quicker with more fluidity. That definitely helps. And that's a great competition to start with in that regard, having nice warm weather, flat, calm waters. I dare say we'll see some great rip entries here today.
Somebody weighed in and said Max Verstappen should jump too.
Yeah. Well, pretty similar acceleration curves, right?
Really? Oh, yeah.
You know, so, I mean, let's say, well, how fast an F1 car? Like 0 to 100, I think it's like, got to be like 1.7 seconds or 1.8 seconds. So we're doing, you know, almost 100 kilometers per hour from the 27-meter platform in about 2.8 seconds. So pretty fast, right? You know?
Yeah. No,
I've been in a Tesla recently, and that thing nearly blew my head off.
All right, next diver up now is Patty Valenti from Brazil, 36 years old, made her World Series debut last season in Takachio, Japan, and earned a respectable 8th place finish there. Jackie Valenti, her sister, also dives as a wild card on our World Series. Throw in the chamois and the sandals in there. You need all that when you're walking up that long path to get to the platform, that dirt trail with a bunch of rocks.
Talk a little bit about the use or the purpose of the chamois after the dive.
So coming in hot right there, Patty Valenti. Has a degree in physical education. And she's also a performer. So a lot of divers, what's their background? Some of them were collegiate divers, some professional divers, and then springboard divers and platform divers from college, or maybe shows and performing shows on cruise ships and whatnot. So a diverse group of athlete divers here. And she comes from that show background.
Yeah, and I think having that performance background definitely helps. So you're accustomed to performing in front of crowds and spectators, you know, and this is a performance sport. I had an amazing conversation with one of the Australian coaches, Chava Sabrino, and he actually gave a speech, and he said there are 2 types of athletes, 2 types only, in his opinion. One is the performer, the other one is the competitor. And you as the coach need to figure out what type of athlete you've got. So you've got to play to those strengths, whether they're good at performing under pressure, or just some are really competitive, right? They just want to fight, you know, bite down. I would call, say, someone like Konstantin Popovic a real competitor. You know, serious, gets to the grind, works hard, and gets the job done.
So Patty Valenti is 4 to go of 12 on the women's side. She gets a ride over on the paddleboard to what we call the hot spot. The Doc and Ellie Smart from the United States getting the crowd pumped up. The 28-year-old American who finished the 2023 season ranked number 4 overall. She's a permanent diver. We'll get into the wild card versus permanent divers here in a minute, but she's been doing a lot of cool projects. Diving out of helicopters. Check out her social media pages. Ice plunge in the cliffs of Norway. Second round, what do we have for a dive here, Joey?
Speaking of that ice dive, she said that was definitely one of the scariest things she'd ever did in her career. So Ellie Smart, I just love how athletes have their own flair and their own style. So she does like the twisting dives. So she'll face forwards And it'll be forward 2 somersaults with 2.5 twists. So she'll take off and right away she'll start wrapping into that twist.
A lot of twisting going on from 21 meters, 70 feet off the water. Ellie Smart putting into the water nicely. Now, if you're new to the sport of cliff diving or diving, you always say, you know, you always look at the entry, right? The landing into the water. There's no splash. That's the only thing that there is, no splash. But that's not the case. You got to have the good degree of difficulty.
Absolutely, you got to get it all right up the top and in the air to make sure you get the good entry. So the judges, it is about looking at the performance and how well the dive is executed. So the judges will not judge the degree of difficulty whatsoever. They just have to look at the dive for its aesthetic properties. So the takeoff, and it should be nice and high, powerful, good form in the air, and of course a nice vertical entry. It's not just about being clean through the water. Sometimes you can be short of vertical or past vertical, right? And still have a pretty clean entry. So they've still got to look at that nice vertical line. That's important.
Ellie Smart with 73 on that dive, 122.50. So she moves into the lead as we check in with David O'Caoimh, who's in the athlete warm-up area. How's that going, Dave?
Yeah, things are pretty good. I'm not here alone. I'm joined by someone who you might recognize.
Riri.
Defending champion on the series. How's it kickstarting?
Yeah, it's a great location to start off the year. We dove directly from the cliff, so that was exciting. Let's see how day 2 goes, but the weather's beautiful, the crowd's loving it, so the energy's there.
Excellent, good luck.
Thank you.
I gotta be quiet, some diving's happening.
We got you. We got you, Dave.
Be quiet, Dave.
Hold on, here's Maria Paula Quintero.
Hey, we don't have to whisper.
23-year-old from Colombia right now. Maria Paula Quintero. Her second round dive. Back 2 somersaults, 2 twists. Oh, there you have it, Maria Paula Quintero, the 23-year-old Colombian. We talked about her, like, getting started. She's been on the series kind of, compared to others, a long time. Right? But she only started when she was 17 years old. She's only 23. So she's got a lot of room to go to be on this series. A lot of room for improvement as well.
So it was 2017, I'm pretty sure. I remember it. We were there. It was
Texas.
Yeah, Texas at Possum Kingdom Lake. And I was just amazed by how well she handled herself at just 17 years of age, handling the conditions, understanding how to manage the height as well. And that was just a great performance by her. And once again, this is the intermediate round, so these rounds are actually these type of dives are actually very hard to control. So it's not all about just jumping off the platform with maximum power. That type of dive, you've really got to show a lot of finesse and control. You need to make sure you're not rotating too fast, otherwise the dive can really get out of control. So well controlled there. Could have been a little tidier on the entry, but a very experienced athlete now, although only 23 years of age.
All 4 rounds added together. But right now, after 2 rounds, she comes in with a 122.10. And Maria Paula Quintero sits in second. Remember, weigh in on some questions if you want. Todd was just asking where the locations are. So those who just joined us, we start in Athens, then we go to Boston, Pognano Mare, Italy. There's 8 stops. Ireland, Oslo, Montreal's a new stop, Antalya, Turkey, and then Sydney, Australia is the final stop as we look at one of the most experienced divers, actually the most experienced diver here when you look at the amount of entries that she's had, 40-year-old Anna Batter.
The OG also competed in the World Aquatics World Championships in Barcelona 2013, the first ever high diving event. Very graceful diver.
Wow, what a dive by Anna Batter. 40-year-old mother of 2, both of them are here, along with their partner Chris Kalanis, former World Series diver. And wow, one of the pioneers of cliff diving, still rocking it. Love it.
Yeah, that was really cute. Actually, I had a little call with Anna a few days ago with her 2 little kids on the paddleboard playing around. They were loving it. Must be incredible, huh?
Yeah.
Just watching your mum go, how cool is my mum? You know, busting it out on this 21-meter cliff.
Do you think they're nervous?
They would have no clue. They'll be like, this is awesome. But the partner, Chris Kalanis, I'm sure he will get a little nervous. He's a cliff diver as well.
Yeah.
So he knows what this sport is all about, and it's all about very brave athletes from these heights. Super stylish dive. I like this one, Trace. It's a half in, half out, we call it. So the first part is jumping up, half turn at the beginning, half turn at the end. Great entry. She's always really elegant, isn't she? Very stylish.
Number 5 judges. The high and the low are tossed. The remaining 3 are multiplied by the degree of difficulty. So the second round dive, she'll keep 3 7.5s for a total of 120.80. And so Anna Batter will move into 3rd place with her grand total. And we'll check in once again with David O'Caoimh. Where are you, Dave? Where's Dave?
Where's Dave?
Well, I was just making my way down to the hot spot and I bumped into an old friend. How's things going? How are you enjoying Greece so far?
Oh man, it's amazing. Look the view, look everything. I enjoy everything, everything.
What's your favorite location of all the places?
I think for me was Japan, in Shirahama, 2016, because I won there.
Sick. Good luck.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Actually, that was a cool competition, that one.
Sergio Guzman. Okay, Meili Carpenter. Her heart rate, you can see down there, lower left-hand side, 141 is her heart rate right now. So,
wow. And resting heart
Meili.
rate? What, do we have any stats on the resting heart rate? But look, normally that's around sort of 55, 60 beats per minute. So that tells you what the athletes are going through.
So Meili Carpenter from the United States, permanent diver on this series. The only other American woman as a permanent diver this season, this 2024 season, is Ellie Smart. Grew up in Boulder, rock climber. Spoke with her the other day.
Yeah.
A lot about the rock climbing and how it really helps her, obviously physically.
Yeah.
But really mentally. You know, nothing really shakes her. Nothing really rattles her when she gets up on that platform, especially up in here in these areas with the rocks and all the elements.
Yeah, and she'll, I think she'll really shine in locations. So, for example, in Northern Ireland, it's going to be a split competition. So there'll be one location where it will be off the cliffs directly from the rock face in a separate location. Then the more difficult dives will be in a harbour off a platform. But having that experience, being able to rock climb, being comfortable with the heights, you know, and being in uncomfortable positions. So sometimes you'll see events where the athletes have to abseil into position. They'll have to traverse along a bamboo run. We've even seen a zip line, for example, like in Lebanon, where they had to go from the mainland across to that monolithic structure. So I think she likes the adventure side of it, and I think that will play in her favour.
Meili will keep 2 7.5s and a 7. Remember, scratch the high and the low. So 68.20 on that dive. 122.80. So Carpenter of the United States moves ahead of her fellow countrymate, Ellie Smart, to pull into the lead. As we are down to the final 4 women in round number 2. We'll get into the 12 men following the women. Elisa Cassetti, very impressive. Wild card diver from Italy, the 2nd youngest female in the field behind Simone Leathead, who's the top qualifier. We'll see Simone shortly. Nice dive and entry by Elisa Cassetti, 21 years old from Italy. Ellie Smart, a lot of great camaraderie with all of the athletes. They're very appreciative of what each other does out here because it is not easy. As you know, Joey, you've been there before. So everyone's very appreciative, especially the youngsters. And Ellie Smart always likes to see the young divers do well.
Yeah, she does help them out a lot. And for the viewers out there, if you're wondering how deep the athletes go when they hit the water, so generally speaking, with a good entry like that, they're going down about 4 meters, 5 meters. The 5 meters, I believe, Trace, that's about 16 feet. So the depths have to be a minimum of 5 meters. So more or less when it's a good entry, like I said before, around 4.5 meters, maybe 5 meters. Obviously, if you don't land so well and you've taken a bit of an uppercut or landed on your backside, you're not going to go as deep, let me tell you.
Cassetti will keep 3.7, so on that particular dive, she'll get a 71.40. So when you add, again, first and second round together, 129.90 for the young Italian. She'll move into the top spot. If you just joined us, Trace Worthington, Joey Zuber, David O'Caoimh running around out there for us as well. We're in the second round of 4 for the women. We will be airing right now as we are airing the second round and also the third round live. We'll take you through both, and then tomorrow will be the 4th and final round on Red Bull TV at 3:30 p.m. CEST. So go back now for Rhiannon Ifland, 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion. Just making sure, guiding the safety divers down below so they're in good position. The GOAT of women's cliff diving, her 44th World Series start.
I mean, she's got records, I mean, that surpassed the men as well. I mean, what a phenomenal athlete.
She's amassed 35 victories and 41 podiums so far. That is record-breaking, record-shattering. There you go, Rhiannon Ifland.
Class.
Typical style.
All class.
All the other divers are going, yeah, it's pretty typical of Rhi. Yep.
That's to be expected. There's a few questions sort of coming in, and some people saying not familiar with the impact. I mean, how hard is the impact? So they're traveling up to 71 kilometers per hour for the women. So I believe that's around about the 50-mile-an-hour mark.
Yep.
And it's up to almost 10 G-forces. So imagine when you're traveling that quickly at 70 kilometers per hour, and then you're hitting, we were talking about the depth before, and then you're stopping in about 4 meters, and that happens within a split second.
Yeah.
And that's definitely tough on the athletes. So common injuries, I would say, is adductor. And the adductor is actually the legs. So when they actually hit the water, their legs can split apart. So you need to do a lot of strength training to make sure you're really squeezing the quads and squeezing the adductors to make sure the legs don't pull apart. So strength training is very important in this sport, of course.
And that person right there you just saw, Rhiannon Ifland, one of the strongest female diver out there. Oh,
she's in the drink.
Rhi's down.
They've taken off without her.
Rhi's down. As I mentioned, 41 podiums out of 43 starts, a 95% podium strike ratio, a 0% staying on the paddleboard ratio right there.
Yeah, she's got to work on that.
She's got to work on that.
We've got to get that game
Figure
up.
that out.
I'm pretty good paddleboard. Let's get some lessons going.
But Rhi is the best of the best. And we talk about all the little things like the free fall, Joey, the impact, and all the things that go along with the G-forces. Feet first. One of the biggest questions. Feet first, and why?
Well, again, referring back to the speed and the impact going head first, I have actually seen some head first entries from 26 meters, and let me tell you, it's a one-off stunt, so that is just not sustainable. And I have actually seen some people accidentally go head first and break their wrist, so it is just too much to handle. So obviously the legs, very big muscle group, the strongest part of the body, and that is why we're going feet first as opposed to head first.
Molly Carlson started diving 4 years ago. Ranked number 2 after last season.
Hey, take it easy, girls.
And Molly Carlson coming in a teeny bit short, Joey, as I've learned from you over the years, when you have that little kind of chest impact, a little more splash.
What?
I'm getting there.
You've been listening.
I'm getting
there.
there.
We've been only
I do listen to you.
I don't know, 7 years, 8 years, something like that. Maybe
I do listen to you, but
good boy.
Let's just introduce you to Molly Carlson real quick, though.
Yeah.
She's got her Brave Gang thing going. She's doing an awesome job, social media, tons of followers. And she's been putting the pressure on Rhiannon Ifland. Rhiannon Ifland's had a hard time kind of just easily winning the King Kakili Trophy each season, with Molly Carlson only 4 years in the sport, you know, doing very well.
Yeah, and with a ton of podium finishes, second places, and she's won quite a few competitions. So this woman right here has got the minerals to be a King Kakili champion. However, she's up against Rhiannon Ifland, an incredibly experienced athlete. So, I mean, it speaks for itself. 7 King Kakili trophies to her name. But Molly Carlson is a force to be reckoned with, let me tell you.
So a little bit of heavy landing on that, Joey. The 128.30 puts her into third place behind Cassetti and Ifland, and with one diver remaining, and that of Simone Leadhead. So let's just get into talking about her right now. Simone Leadhead, only 21 years old. She's the top qualifier, the 12th to go on the women's side here in round number 1 before we get into men's round number 1. Then we'll get into round number 2 for both the women and the men. Making her 5th ever appearance on the World Series, the Junior World High Diving Champion, 13 national championships titles in diving. And I mean, really that traditional background has helped her. That's what she told us on the phone yesterday.
Yeah.
But I mean, now look at the pressure. Now she's sitting first after the first round.
Off and running, front triple half.
Look at that beautiful dive by Simone Leadhead, and she keeps the train rolling. Bree likes it.
And that's what you're talking about before. She's got a great technical background, lots of national championship titles behind her. And when you've got a really good foundation, she started diving, I believe, around 9 or 10 years of age. But the technical foundation, how you take off the platform, your position in the air, all of your aerial awareness, if you've got a lot of experience with that and obviously good results, that does help translate over to the sport of cliff diving. But there are some divers that I've seen try to take up cliff diving and it wasn't for them, you know?
Yeah.
I think mentally they couldn't quite get themselves over that hurdle to do that. So this sport is not for everybody, let me tell you. So there's definitely some personality types that you need to be in order to be a cliff diver. And bravery, courage, number 1, and your character strength.
So you have all the 5s for 6s, so pretty heavy on the landing right there. All right, so we have Simone Leadhead coming in with those lower scores, now dropping her to 4th after the first round of women. Are the judges allowed to talk to each other, Joey? Looks like they are.
So judges, they have to look at the dive based upon what they think. So yes, perhaps in between some of the rounds, but once they're actually in the competition, they're only focused on the dive, and that is their job.
The judges are down below, so they have a different perspective right there. They're in the water on that little boat right there. So Rhiannon Ifland, wow, she's on top of the leaderboard again with a 141.40. Lisa Cassetti still hanging in there. The youngster Molly Carlson into 3rd, only 2 rounds of diving, and there's 2 more to go for the women. So a lot of room for that leaderboard to shake up. As we look at Maria Paula Quintero leading off from 7 through 12. Amy Harrison now in 12th place. But once again, when you get into those optional round dives, it all makes a big difference in the scores when they throw out the big degree of difficulty. But there's your leader, Rhiannon Ifland, the 7-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion. So we'll see if she can keep that rolling as we roll into the men. And we have Sergio Guzman, who Dave O'Caoimh spoke with earlier. He'll kick it off. Remember, this is the 2nd round. After the 1st round, Sergio had the lowest score, so that's why he has to come out of the gates first. Aiden Heslop, who was 2nd last season, actually the runner-up for 2 seasons in a row. He'll dive number 6. That's not a normal position for him. He's usually up there in the top 3.
Yep.
Got the American James Lichtenstein and Oleksiy Prigorov, always fun to watch him. Dave Kulturi in a good position as well. And then the top qualifier, Jonathan Paredes, tied with Carlos Himeno with 70.20 points. They will dive 11th and 12th. But we'll kick things off with Sergio.
Been a few questions also about how they calculate the scores as well from people here on YouTube. So once again, the judges just look at the execution of the dive. Highest and lowest scores deducted. 3 remaining scores added together, then multiply by the degree of difficulty for the final score. And the score for Sergio Guzman should be pretty good. We'll segue into that. Great for the kids to see that. Oh, look, some little Mexican fan base there.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Somebody asked where your Schmidbauer was. So where's Schmitty? You can check her social media pages.
Yeah,
a little surprise for you on that one. Yeah, so Schmitty's doing all right, but she's taking a season off. All right.
Sergio Guzman's wife was there, down below. And Sergio Guzman with the inward triple half, so that's when they stand backwards and rotate in towards the platform. They have to stay quite close to the platform. And if you do that dive in the pike position with the legs straight, quite often you'll see the toes come in within about 2 to 3 centimeters of the platform. Occasionally they do even tip the platform. I've had a few of those, actually. Kick out at 5 meter and donk. The heels went backwards.
All right, Guzman.
Coaches just laughed at me. That's what they did back then.
He's got some high scores there, though. He'll keep those 3/8s, and then he got an 86.40. So kick it off. Weigh 130.60 for Guzman, and we'll check in once again with David O'Caoimh. Dave, where are you now?
Where's Dave?
Where's Dave?
Where's Dave?
So I am in the best seat in the house. So as you can see the view up there, maybe we'll watch the dive and then I'll pick back up. But I'm in the hot spot. This is where all the divers are chilling.
Yeah, the divers can't hear you down there, Dave.
Our sports director.
The
Okay, I just don't want to be disrespectful.
Hey, the divers on the platform,
But yeah,
they
right
can't
now,
hear
it's
you.
pretty cool down here, so you'll see.
Hey, Dave. Shh.
Dave.
So basically what happens is,
All right,
the divers, once they dive, I actually want to show you how they make it back here, because it's sick, guys. So, over here, there's a winch system, and basically what the winch does is it pulls a paddleboard. So traditionally you use this for kind of wakeboarding or something like that, but they're using it to tow the athletes back here to the hotspot, which is pretty epic.
I know, I was thinking about that, Dave. I mean, Dave, I think you should get out there and bust out the trick. So, Dave is one fine wakeboarder, everybody, as well.
Oh, yeah. I know. I see how he worked in the wakeboarding thing. He's like, just like wakeboarding.
I know, yeah, he was smooth.
Dave got his he's got his wakeboarding stuff.
He gave himself props there. No, honestly,
It's always
he's
on
a
my
great
mind.
wakeboarder.
It's always on my mind. But right now, so you're going to see it. Oh, well, thank you guys. But we'll see this now, and then I'm going to take a little tour around the hotspot, the athletes area, kind of give you that inside scoop that we might not necessarily see. So right now, you're going to see our divers are making their way back across. You gotta say, that looks pretty fun.
Yeah, it does. That's great.
That's awesome.
Hey? Clever thinking, Team Greece. I love it.
And it's a good thing they don't make him swim back. I mean, there's 4 rounds of diving. You need to save your energy.
Well, it's a bit of a trek back up to the top of the platform, and you're right. You do need to save your energy.
All right, here's Matt Cooper from the United States on top of the platform. The men's platform, by the way, and a reminder, 27 meters, 90 feet off the water. So close to 90, this place here. So Matt Cooper, wild card diver. His toes. And Matt Cooper putting one down, who calls Washington, D.C. home. He trains in Fort Lauderdale, his 4th appearance on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series.
It's great, a little bit of audio there at the beginning of the dive. You can see him taking off the platform. You can actually hear the platform as his feet thud against it, and you hear this oof, this little oomph. There's a lot of abdominal strength as you rotate in towards the platform. And we're talking earlier about the inward takeoff. So watch his feet here, inward pike there, boom. Nice and tight to the platform. And you do need to be close to the platform. Why? If you're too far away on a dive like this, the further you're away on an inward takeoff, the slower you're going to go and the harder it will be to finish the dive. And a second part to that as well is the judges. So the judges want to see the dive with a good distance from the platform. It shouldn't be too close and it shouldn't be too far away. It should be right on that sweet spot. But pretty good scores for Matt Cooper.
Cyril Amechkon of France, one of the judges. Jeff Arbin is here. Ginger Huber, excuse me.
Ginger Cooper.
Ginger Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
I know what Ginger
Dive,
Cooper. I know what Ginger Cooper. Sorry, Ginger.
Mix up.
Ginger Huber are the judges, and then Anka Piper and Marion Reif, 3 women on the judges panel out of the 5. Great crew of judges, by the way. As we get to the top now, Matt. Braden Rumpet from New Zealand, 23 years old. And kaboom, Rumpet putting one down. And don't...
Couldn't quite blow his trumpet on that one. Didn't quite get the
I see where you're going with that.
Hey,
All right, don't forget to send us your questions, you guys, right here, as we are live on YouTube. We'll do our best to answer them live here and also TikTok. And somebody's asking, do some of the athletes in Red Bull Cliff Divers compete in Olympic diving events? Actually, a really good question.
Hang on, good question.
There's somebody, our 10-time King Kyle-Keeley Trophy winner, Gary Hunt, is not competing in all of the stops this season. The first time he hasn't competed in a Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series since he began in 2009. Again, he's won 10 times over. He's preparing for the Paris Olympics in 10-meter synchro diving. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So he's training for the games.
It's been an amazing journey for Gary Hunt. His original goal was to go to the Olympic Games as a youngster in the sport of diving, but then he fell in love with cliff diving and became an absolute legend.
Tell us the difference between the 10-meter Olympic diving platform and this one.
Well, let's start with the height, obviously. So it's 10 meters versus 27 meters. But actually the foundation, so a lot of the first part of the dive and the 27-meter dives are still based on the foundation of 10-meter diving. So if you're a good 10-meter diver, it will translate well to cliff diving, as long as you can handle the heights and the mental load, you know, and how difficult it is, and handling that fear factor. The Olympic question as well, quickly, we've also got Alexei Prigorov, bronze medalist in the Beijing 2008 Olympics in men's 3-meter synchronized diving. And actually it's quite difficult for the springboard divers, so they're used to diving on the springboard where that moves up and down. It's a totally different rhythm and feeling. So he's made a giant leap from 3 meters all the way up to 27 meters. And it did take him some time to adjust, but he's definitely a very exciting athlete. And speaking of exciting athletes, Callum Preda, the man who personifies cliff diving. He looks the part and he dives like the part.
The heart rate, 74.
Remarkably low.
Just finished a cool film project called Hidden Cliffs with Red Bull and his good buddy David Coulter. You got to check that out when you get a chance. Kaboom, Catalin Preda, the 32-year-old Romanian diver, capped off the 2023 season with a second-place finish in New Zealand. You know, we talked to him, Joey, and said, hey, look, I'm going to take this season a little more chill, not take it so serious, right? Because some of the times these guys try to win that King Kyle-Keeley Trophy, and they end up like, you know, 4th, 5th, or 6th for the season when they're capable of winning the trophy.
Yeah, perhaps put a little bit too much pressure on himself, but we all do that, you know? You want to perform well, you want to be a champion, and he knows he's got the capacity to win the King Kyle-Keeley Trophy. So sometimes you just got to get back to the basics and focus on the task at hand, focus on the skill that you need to do and not so much on the results. And just going back to that documentary that he did, Hidden Cliffs in Saudi Arabia, you can actually see that on YouTube. It is just an amazing documentary shoot, real adventure in a location that is truly unique.
Marion Reif trying to swing that judge's card around there. And Catalin Preda, the great diver. Remember, we're in the second round for the men. There's 4 total. And we are live for this second and third round today. Let's go to David O'Caoimh. He's with Molly Carlson, we saw dive earlier. Her boyfriend is Aiden Heslop, and Aiden's about to dive. Dave, what's going on?
Thank you, Jen. So yeah, I'm joined with Molly. We're getting that kind of point of view. So Molly, talk us through the dive.
Aiden's about to do this inward triple. It was beautiful in practice, but as his girlfriend, I get super stressed out. But I think it'll be good. And then I'll hit the water.
I have a question. Do you get more nervous before you dive or before Aiden dives?
Like, it's starting to become him. And I'm like, that's not.
Lots of rock and roll interfering with Dave's mic down there, huh?
Yeah. Straightening it out.
I mean, it is a rock show down there. They're down below.
He's in the snake pit.
Yeah.
The Indy 500. But yeah, like when you've got your partner up on the platform, it's sometimes more nerve-wracking than it is when you're diving yourself.
That might be a normal heart rate right there.
Yeah, that's more like it. Let's crank it up. 140
plus for Heslop. Ended the season second last year after the 2023 season. The guy has an arsenal of dives. High degree of difficulty. So fun to watch, and kaboom!
Hey, Molly likes it.
Yeah.
Huh? The girl's happy.
So Heslop needs some good points. He was in like 6th place after the first round, so needs to make up some points. All 4 rounds are added together. If you've just joined us, we've completed the first 2 rounds of the women. We're in the first round of the men. We will go directly into the 3rd round of women after this, followed by the 3rd round of men.
Look at that shot. Gives you a great idea of the height and the scale. This 90 feet platform. Aiden Heslop, I mean, he's only 22 years of age, and it's just insane in terms of the types of dives he can do and how difficult the dives are. He wanted to be a cliff diver since he was around about 10 years of age. He idolized Gary Hunt. Comes from Plymouth in England. They used to do a lot of feet first competitions with his coach, Fito Gutierrez. So they just got used to that feet first landing, but he had his eyes set on being a cliff diver, and he followed it through, and what a fine athlete.
Heslop will pull into the lead with a total of 150.60. And again, we saw his girlfriend Molly Carlson dive earlier, and a lot of questions have to do with the men's and the women's platform heights and why the women are lower and the men are higher. Getting a few of those coming in on our comments, Joey.
Yeah, I mean, Maria Paula Quintero has actually dove from 27 meters before, so it is actually physically possible, but over a long period of time and over, with lots of repetitions, it's a size factor in the terms of how big your quadriceps are. So it's to do with physical mass. Yes, you can do it for, a few times, but being able to do 27 meters for the women over the course of 8 competitions wouldn't be sustainable, let's say. But the skill of the men and the women are absolutely equal, and I would actually argue that Rhiannon Ifland is probably the most skillful cliff diving athlete of all time, irregardless of sex. So.
James Lichtenstein, the 29-year-old American, the only American permanent diver on the World Series. Had a chat with him last week during training sessions in Fort Lauderdale. Said he's getting there with his degree of difficulty. He's going to stick to the same plan through the 2024 season and just try to improve his dives. If you watch tomorrow live, Joey, with us on Red Bull TV, you're going to see his quint, which is pretty cool. But right now, 3.5. Is that right?
Gainer triple. Gainer triple. So when I say gainer, or some people say gainer, so that means reverse. So you're standing on the platform facing forwards and then rotating back towards the platform. But tomorrow in the show, well, actually maybe not tomorrow in the show, but James, at some point, we're going to show you a little bit of trampolining, and that's his background. We can't show it in this show today, but having that trampolining background gives James excellent aerial awareness. He's very good at spotting and counting the somersaults and understanding where he is. So he jumps up here, and then the head will turn back and see the water once, coming around twice, seeing the water for the second time. And he knows once he's seen the water after the second time, then you kick out shortly out of that. Kick out meaning the come out. So come out is the point at which you'll come out of that shape of the dive. The shape might be the tuck position, which is the ball shape, or the pike position. So when you come out of the dive, it's called the come out. But the come out and when you come out of the shape is absolutely critical. And that is why you need supreme aerial awareness and a lot of training on the lower heights or on the trampoline in James's case.
Not bad for James Lichtenstein, coming to the 148.80 after his first and second round dives were added together. Remember, all 4 rounds count and are added together for the total for the men's round 2. Heslop leading the way with 150. Still to come, some great divers, including Alexei Prigorov, the 36-year-old from Ukraine, the only Olympic medalist, you mentioned it earlier, Joey, to compete on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Get back in 2008 and 3-meter springboard synchro. Prigorov. Nicest guys you'll meet. Trains hard. Here we go. Prigorov, I love his lines. One of the taller divers out there, and just lean and looks beautiful in the air. Great job by Prigorov.
And putting his own flair. So a lot of the divers will play to their strengths. So some athletes like twisting dives, some like rotating dives. And this is a really interesting dive. Not many athletes do this. So it's a reverse triple full. That's a bit of slang or diving slang. So a reverse triple with one twist, but he breaks up the twist into two different parts. So at the beginning, I'll just be able to explain it better in the next replay. But a reverse takeoff will gainer. So watch this, half turn, first somersault, quick spot of the platform into the tuck. One there, two coming out, looking at the water there. And that is the Barani. So he's doing a half turn with one somersault for the last part of the dive. That is a control maneuver, allowing the athletes to see the surface of the water for as long as possible. And you need that, especially when you're traveling at 85 kilometers per hour or 55 miles per hour. You really need to keep your eyes on the water, keep your eye on the prize.
There's that Olympic background we talked about, comparing it to regular Olympic 10-meter platform. Joey touched on it earlier, but the men's platform, 3 times the height and 9 times the impact here in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series compared to a 10-meter platform at the Olympic Games. And high diving versus cliff diving, and diving in the Olympics versus cliff diving. It's like taking a football or soccer game from a covered stadium, putting it on the turf field, not in an arena, out in the open natural elements as Dave Kulturi gets ready to tackle the elements. He did that in Saudi Arabia with Kathleen Preda recently with his project called Hidden Cliffs. Check it out on Red Bull TV. Dave's a good diver, all about high performance and discipline, 35 years old, super strong. Look at that. Kulturi opening up there and trying to save that entry, Joey. It's kind of like pulling the parachute right there, a little over rotation. What happened?
Yeah, and so that can be caused by a number of things. So over rotation, meaning going past that vertical point, and that can be caused by, as we talked about earlier, where you come out of the dive. So if you come out of the dive a little bit too late, that means you stayed in that shape, that smaller shape, for longer and picked up the speed. Let's just have a look here. And you can see him putting his arms above the head. He knew he was way too fast. So that could be a combination of maybe rotating a bit too quick from the platform. Let's have a look here closely there. Yeah, maybe he could have just come out a touch earlier with that kind of rotation. So if you want to rotate that fast from the top, that means then you have to come out of the dive earlier to slow it down. Or conversely, you can come out at the same position or just take off a little bit slower. That's one way to deal with it.
It'd be so challenging. And again, when you dove in your days, Joey, in 4 rounds of diving, you have to be great on all 4 rounds. That's where, we see Konstantin Popovich and Gary Hunt so impressive. And Dave, just has that, one mistake on one dive, it could, be it for him. Who knows? Unless he has some really strong, powerful dives from here on out. Speaking of Gary Hunt, the most consistent divers, the most successful divers of all time, he's weighing in on it. He's on our chat. See what he has to say as we look at the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion from 2023. It's Konstantin Popovich, the Romanian shark. 35 years old and has the big target on his back entering the season as the reigning World Series champion. All right. Oh, Konstantin Popovich.
Look clean.
Putting it in, drilling it down. I'm just going to go to the chat room real quick. Gary Hunt said, we talked about Dave Kulturi's landing, and Gary said, well, maybe a landing can affect a diver more mentally than physically. Maybe going into the, 3rd and 4th round. He would know.
Yes,
Gary would know.
Yes, Gary would know.
Gary would know. Gary, you probably know something, thing or two.
No, particularly if you haven't had such a great dive, and maybe the next round that you're going into is a very difficult dive, and it can take a bit of knock in your confidence. So once again, Gary's on there. Feel free to ask some questions. He's the perfect guy to answer those questions. We did actually have a question about the percentage of dry land training or dry training versus water training. So Typically, diving and high diving athletes, in the mornings they'll do what's called dry land training. They'll be in a gymnastics hall or a trampoline hall, and they'll work on their somersaulting skills, their jumping skills. In the afternoon, they'll do some water training for 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours, and then they mix up the strength training as well, with at least sort of 3 to 4 strength training sessions during the week.
High scores, Konstantin Popovich. Remember, 5 judges. They throw out the high and the low, so he'll keep 3 8s and multiply those by the degree of difficulty with an 86.4, adding that with his first round dive, 154. Konstantin Popovich now in the lead with 3 remaining. Steve Lobu is in the chat room. What's up, Steve? You can check him out at the dive facility there in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's been open for just a couple years now. Dave coaches a lot of these divers at that facility. Heading back to the top for Johnny Paredes. Paredes, who is the top qualifier, along with Carlos Ameno. And look at that, the 34-year-old veteran diver in his 69th start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series still has the goods to put these dives in and do what he's known for best, and that is what?
The rip master.
entry.
No, I mean, he's got great aerial awareness, particularly in the last part of the dive. So good technical ability in the Barani. He's able to see the environment better than others for some strange reason. So the way he adjusts at the end. So some of the athletes will make up for their performance with high degree of difficulty, but because he gets such high scores, he can gain some ground.
Yeah.
And so I think he just has a great natural aptitude. He just always was able to figure out what to do at the end of the dive. Also, he doesn't make any unnecessary movements at the end. He's very stable, very smooth with his arms. But some people, I think visually, or they can register things faster in their minds. I mean, it's maybe a little bit like a catcher in an NFL game. They can read the ball, they can read the quarterback, they can see where they're throwing it. You know what I'm saying? So this guy reads the play at the entry oh so well.
Johnny's dream as a boy was to be an American football player. A couple 8.5s and an 8, 88.20. So Johnny Paredes into the lead with a 158.40 over the reigning World Series champion from 2023, Popovich. 1 diver remaining in the men's second round before we get into the women's third round live, and the men's third round. Tomorrow's 4th and final round on Red Bull TV live at 3:30 p.m. CEST. Joey and I will be making the call on that along with David O'Caoimh. He's roaming around. Catch up with him in a minute, but here's Carlos Ameno. One of my personal favorites. Last season had an outstanding year as a wild card diver, ended up in the top 3, now a permanent diver, and a threat for the King Kakili Trophy in 2024. Carlos Ameno showing you why he was a threat last year coming into the season, out of the season, and now into 2024. Ameno, 34-year-old from Spain. Break that one down, Joey. What'd you think?
Look, what I liked about the dive is just how he really attacked the takeoff. When I say attack, he really was nice and powerful and strong with this. Bang! Good elevation from the platform. He wasn't shy about it, but did a good job about being powerful and tall and nice and high from the platform without overdoing it with the rotation. So he could easily do, add an extra somersault. So he's definitely done a great job with controlling the dive. He really came a long way last year, and he really attributed that to his mental state, really finding the way to focus and get in the zone, get in the moment, worked a lot on his breathing and visualization. So he talked about being able to picture the dive. It's not just about going, oh yeah, I can see the dive in my mind, but can I really see all the details? Can I really see myself doing the dive perfectly?
So Ameno will fall in short of the top spot with an 84.60, which rolls up, adding the first round dive with the second 154.80. Still in second in a great position. All 4 rounds of diving count and are added together. as the men's second round wraps up. Johnny Paredes leads the way going into the men's third round. And Meno in second, Popovic in third. Still a lot of room for that leaderboard to change up.
Yeah,
with 2 dives left.
Definitely.
So there you have it. Paredes with 158.40. Very obtainable and catchable by Carlos Meno and Popovic, and even Heslop in that 150 plus range. Rigorov always hanging in there. He's in 6th. As we look at the rest of the 12 men, Catalin Ferretta has some work to do. Not a bad score, though. You see Matt Cooper, Guzman, Garcia, Colturi has some work to do, and then Braden Rumpet from New Zealand will round out the men's top 12 after the second round of dives here from Athens, Greece. Beautiful day, the Mediterranean Sea right there, about 20 minutes south of Athens for the first stop of the 2024 season. Remember to send your questions to us right here live on YouTube or TikTok at Red Bull Cliff Diving. And taking more questions is David O'Caoimh. Where's Dave? Dave, where are you, buddy?
It's always a magic question.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's boating.
Dave's in a boat.
I'm experiencing the full shebang here in Athens, so I'm on the world's smallest boat. I don't know if this can even be classified. Got
he's on the verge of
pilot,
tipping.
captain here, and we're on our way out to the judges' tower. So yeah, so in this next round, I'm going to be right there with the judges. We'll try and see how they actually look, have a look at their angle, and hopefully bring you guys a bit of an insight.
Now, Dave's used to being in a lot bigger boats and a lot more expensive boats in his wakeboard career. Trust me.
He's on the verge of tipping. Oh, one wrong move, son, you're in the drink.
You know what, I want to show you my feet. I'm glad I took but it's all part of the charm here. And yeah, I'm going to mount up onto this judge's tower and enjoy the show.
And actually, speaking of the judges' position, so it's really important the judges look at the dives from side on, direct 90 degrees. So you want to be as side on as possible. So judge number 1 should be sitting basically in line with the edge of the platform, the rest of the judges in sequence along that way. So that's the best way to actually judge the dive in terms of getting the distance from the platform right, how high they are from the platform, and of the form and the position. So from the side angle, for example, if they're in the pike position, their legs actually have to be straight. They start bending their knees, then they can see if they're bending their knees a little bit too much, and they can make those deductions.
Once again, great judges panel. Cyril Mechkan, former diver on the World Series, Anka Piper, Marian Reif, Jeff Arbin, Ginger Huber. She's one of the first, was she the first woman to get a perfect 10? I think she was, like in Azores.
Yeah. I think flying front. She had a great flying front.
Yeah, Ginger was always fun to watch on the World Series. And remember, you can watch all the stops of the 2024 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series live and on demand on redbullcliffdiving.com, Red Bull TV, YouTube, and Facebook for the first time ever, as right now you're witnessing all rounds can be watched live on either TikTok and or YouTube and Instagram. Just remember to follow at Red Bull Cliff Diving to not miss a dive and get all the great information. So, the start list for women's round 3. So those are your leaders after the second round of diving. Get that straightened out. Ifland actually led the way and is the top qualifier after the women's second round of diving. So she will dive last in the women's third round. Before her, it'll be Alyssa Cassetti and Molly Carlson. They're the top 3 after round number 2. It's reverse order. A beautiful day here at Lake Vuliagmeni, 20 minutes south of Athens. The lake was formed about 2,000 years ago. Water temps about 23 degrees Celsius, 74 degrees Fahrenheit. It is very warm in that lake. As we'll kick it off now for the women's third round, and Amy Harrison. So Harrison comes in, a bit of a splash on that. Now at this point, Joey, you're walking, you're training, you're doing all this stuff yesterday, today, the first round, walking up and down. This is where the physical demands come in, I would imagine. You've been there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, yes, obviously the climbing part. And then with each dive, because there's a lot of speed associated and a lot of impact, and it does take its toll on your quadriceps, on your calf muscles. Actually, on that particular dive, when she hit the water, you could really hear a big smack, so the feet were very flat. So generally speaking, you want your feet or your heels raised up a little bit, so you want them a little bit flat, but not too flat. Flat enough to make a hole for the body to pass through, and that's the same for head-first diving. You'll actually see the divers grab their hands and make a flat surface to make that hole so the body can pass through. It's a bit like a manhole. You want to open up that manhole and slip through it.
And if you don't slip through it, like your chin just hits the like just right there,
That's the
that
uppercut.
can't feel good. So Amy Harrison ventures back,
Scooting
gets
away.
a ride to the hot spot, the landing area for all the divers before they hike back up for their next round of diving. Actually, we're not doing another round of diving because we're on the third round of diving for the women today. Going to the men next, but the fourth round will happen tomorrow for both the men and the women. So Harrison coming in with that dive. Most likely not in a podium position for tomorrow's fourth and final round dive. We get to our next competitor, Patty Valenti. Women's platform, once again, is 21 meters, 70 feet off the lake. This lake is called brackish water. Contains more salinity than fresh water, but less salinity than seawater. Salty, but not salty. I don't know.
I just love it when you just do your research.
Don't let it go down.
Fantastic.
I just knew it in my science class. I'm kidding. Patty Valenti, not bad, coming in for the nice entry for her third round dive.
So round 3 is the optional dive round. Optional means it's optional. You can do whatever you want. You can do as many somersaults and twists. It's unlimited degree of difficulty. So this is the round where you'll start to see the athletes do more complex maneuvers. So this is inward triple half. So if you ever hear a triple half, that means the triple somersault. The half meaning the half twist at the end of the dive. That's the Barani. So it's a bit of slang that also sort of comes from trampolining as well. So this sport, we do combine diving and I would say trampolining. So the Barani is a very important skill or maneuver. So this is the control maneuver for the last part of the dive, the front somersault with a half twist. Incidentally, Rhiannon Ifland came from a high-performance trampolining background, then transferred to high-performance diving, and then got into cliff diving, and she is a formidable athlete. But a great job by Patty Valenti.
Tour stops this year. As a reminder, Athens, Greece, right here, is the first of 8 stops. Boston is in 2 weeks. That'll be on June 8th. Poignano Amare returns to the schedule for the 11th time as Rhiannon Ifland makes her way up to the platform and her third round dive. We'll go to Ireland, Norway, Canada, Turkey, and Australia. November 10th for the finale. The 2024 World Series. And there you go, Yana Nestirava, the 31-year-old experienced diver, puts it down. And we have a packed schedule this season, Joe. We talk about mental strength, physical strength through the entire season. As Boston will kick off next week. That's the only stop in the United States, by the way. And then Italy's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have Poignano Amare, Italy, directly, just off the, where the houses, what we call houses rise from the rocks and the cliffs there. It's super nice. And Ireland.
Yep.
Back to Norway for that super long platform. There's always a huge crowd there.
And then, of course, Sydney will be amazing, right in front of the infamous Opera House. But I'm definitely looking forward to some of the off-the-cliff competitions, Northern Ireland.
New stop in Montreal.
Yep, well, we've never been to Canada before as part of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Great to see that country make an introduction. So Yana Nestirava definitely coming up a bit short of vertical there, so not quite finishing in the rotation, so taking it a little bit on the chin.
So remember, our next stop, as I mentioned, go to redbullcliffdiving.com, by the way, for all the information on when and where and when it airs, because now we're on live. We're on TikTok, and then 3 days before, and then or 2 days before, and then 1 day before, where you and I will be on YouTube live for 2 rounds of diving, and then the final will be on Red Bull TV, ESPN Plus in the United States. But the Boston, June 6th through 8th. is the next stop of the series.
They're definitely testing out a new format this year. So first day where they normally do their warm-up dives, doing the off-the-cliff round, which took place yesterday, 2 rounds today, and then just 1 more round tomorrow, as Trace was saying.
Hey, tell us what you think. We're on live. This is the first time we've been working together. What? This is like our 8th season together. The first time we're on live on YouTube. Shot of us on a screen right here.
Well, what it does say is
it's all fun.
Yeah, how adaptable the athletes are. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what the feedback's like from the athletes. But they will adapt.
Oh, I'm talking about us being on YouTube Live, dude.
Oh.
I'm not talking about it.
Oh, cool. That's very good. Very, very thoughtful of you. Very nice. Very unselfish. Down to Panisi, the young Aussie. Here we go.
Xanthi Panisi, perhaps the patience right there on the platform paid off. I forgot, she's known for that.
Yeah.
A little bit of a pause, doesn't go and dive as fast as some of the others.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's like that for some of the athletes, and some athletes will take longer than others, but sometimes you don't quite see it in your head. You just got to take a beat, take a moment to get yourself set. She does stand very tall on her tippy toes on the end of the platform as well, so she's really got those calf muscles engaged. But I do know Xanthi very well, and I can tell you this much: she is a hard-working athlete. Got an excellent strength and conditioning program, and she knew that leading into the season. We had quite a long conversation because there's the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, 8 stops, as we know. There's also World Aquatic events. There's 2 this year, 2 World Cups, 1 in Bahrain, 1 in Brazil. There's other competitions which Alessandro De Rose is organising, and hopefully Alexei Prigov will also be organising a competition. So it's a lot to take on the body. So you've got to come into the season physically prepared.
5 judges, the high and the lower toss, the remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty. Panisi doing a great job after that low score in the first round, Joey. So her 3rd round dive, bringing her back to the top spot, which is good for her. We'll see what she does and pulls off in round number 4. The pace that you have to set at the first stop, you can't really have any down events. This is where Rhiannon Iflin's able to win 7 straight King Kong trophies, because she doesn't have much downtime in terms of her results. She stays strong and consistent through the whole season. It's a long season, 8 in total. As we look at Anna Batter.
I think it's going to get pretty tough when we're getting to around about stop 6 and 7. That's when you really need to dig deep and pull out the mental strength. That's where the experienced athletes, the ones who are mentally strong, will prevail.
And a batter. Again, still showing how strong she is at 40 years old, a mother of 2, and putting dives down.
But it's great to see. I mean, she loves the sport. You know, she wants to stay involved with it. And let me tell you, when I actually sort of stopped diving and sort of when I retired, I really missed the camaraderie, the feeling of being in the competition, that sense of togetherness and that sense of relief and elation after doing the competition. And also there's a tremendous sense of pride when you really overcome your fears to do these difficult dives. You think, wow, I did that. I was scared. It was hard. But persevering and putting in the hard work, there's no greater feeling. Such a satisfying feeling. Actually, Alexei Prigov talks a lot about that. So there's no feeling like after a competition and sharing those moments with the fellow cliff divers.
Her mother, Angelica, a 2-time Olympic gymnast, so obviously running in the blood and the genes, and her family, Anna Batter, with her 2nd round 75, so her grand total is 196. A reminder that all 4 rounds of diving, they all count. They're all added together. The 3rd round of the women tomorrow for the men and women takes place live on Red Bull TV, 3:30 p.m. CEST. So we are live right now with you for round 2 and 3. Round 2 has concluded. Round 3 for the men coming up shortly. Beautiful shot of Lake Vouliagmeni, 20 minutes south of the city of Athens. Maria Paula Quintero for her 3rd round dive. There you have it. Oh, no splash on that. As Joey likes to say, disappearing act right there.
Vanishing into Lake Vouliagmeni. Yes. Sorry, no accents.
No, it was a good one.
I'll get the eyebrow from Nina later. Yeah, so we've got some really interesting questions. I mean, some of the people are asking, look, athletes look like they've got really muscular feet. And yes, actually, the body starts to adapt. I mean, some of that comes from the dryland training, so when you're doing lots of somersaults and twists and strength and conditioning training, so the feet will inherently get stronger. But I actually do remember doing a lot of training with Maria Paula Quintero in Utah, and she was doing a lot of dives. And she was able to really handle it, I think, physically from a muscular point of view. But what happens after a while is actually the feet start to bruise. So you have to be a little bit careful not to do too much. You see a lot of bruising under the arch. So you've got to find that sweet spot between doing enough and not too much.
So Maria Paula Quintero, grand total of 205 after adding all 3 rounds together so far. Moves into the lead. Halfway through the women's 3rd round as Ellie Smart gets ready to dive. Awesome crowd out here to watch the first stop of the 2024 season. It's the 99th stop of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series since its introduction in May of 2009. 3rd time the World Series has taken place here in Athens at this location. As mentioned earlier, Orlando Duque was crowned the World Series champion here in 2009. It's the first time the women have joined. The men have been competing for 15 years on the World Series, the women now for 10. So this is the first time the women have come to this location. Ellie Smart, next diver.
So yeah, I was here back in 2009 and 2011. Definitely forgot how beautiful this location is. Ellie's got a very high degree of difficulty dive. So it's already an impressive sport, but now she'll press up into an arm stand. So it'll be arm stand, back, 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists. An unusual way to get up into the handstand position.
Go, Ellie Smart, and describe that right there. Again, Joey, those new to cliff diving, coming in a little bit short there, a big splash. But the big question is, does that hurt upon that impact when you're coming in short or go over to your back?
Yeah, it does, particularly when you're landing short. I mean, I call it a hot face.
A hot face?
Well, particularly when it's cold, those conditions. I mean, you land short. I mean, you're literally taking it up underneath the chin and into your face, and you're like, oh, yeah, I felt that one. Well, there's 2 parts to it. A, you feel it in the moment, and then the next day it's like, oh, man. Particularly in the neck. A lot of us would complain at the beginning of the season. You come back to start diving, and the next day you're like, oh, my neck. And actually, there were some other questions about long-term injuries, and like all sports have some long-term injuries, but yeah, particularly, let's say, the adductors and the neck, you can have some some ongoing injuries there, or the lower back as well. But same like any other sport, there'll always be, you know, repetitive strain injuries.
Well, that impacted her landing, 164.30. Let's head over to the judges' platform. I've never been over there. Dave snuck over there. O'Caoimh, what's going on? Better be quiet over there. Shh, Dave. Where's Dave?
If ever there was a time to actually whisper, it's here. So we've got our 5 judges there. I certainly feel like you know when you feel like you're somewhere you shouldn't be? That's exactly what I feel like right now. But let me know, maybe between the rounds I can ask some questions. So Joey, Trace, if you have any questions for me to ask some of the judges, just let me know.
Just get between them in the middle of the dives and just bother them a little bit. Just see what happens.
Yeah. Dave, you should be like, you guys, you know what I think that score should be. Here's what I think it should be, guys.
Dave,
I think you're a little low on that.
Way in there, Dave. Come on, put your 2 cents in.
All right, Millie Carpenter for her 3rd round dive. 8 to go of 12 in the women's 3rd rounds. Oh, I love the twist in the middle. Just a little bit of a splash on that, Joey. Impressive dive and an impressive diver.
A 1.5 twisting triple. And again, the athletes will choose to do dives in different ways. So this particular dive, you can do the twist at the beginning, or you can do it in the middle. And then she's got the Barani at the end. So she comes from a gymnastics background as well as diving. A lot of shows as well over the years. So the first somersault will just be in the pike position, no twist. Then she'll open up here, see the water quickly, twist in the middle, that's 1 twist. The arms come out wide, that helps you stop the twist, and you're coming into that Barani. But once you start doing these really difficult dives, it's pretty relieving when you're coming out of those somersaults and twists. You come out just going, there's the water, oh, there it is.
Hey, don't forget to weigh in, you guys. If you have any questions live, just post it up there on YouTube. Gary Hunt, thanks for jumping in here. Gary Hunt, the 10-time Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion. He's not here, so if anybody just joined us, Gary is not joining, but he's joining us in the chat room. But Gary's preparing for the 2024 Paris Games for 10-meter synchro diving, so good luck to Gary at the games. But Gary was talking about the perfect dive, and somebody was asking about the perfect dive, and he just said, you know, there's always going to be a small deduction. It's very rare that you see that that perfect dive. So thanks, Gary, for explaining that to the fans.
Yeah, I was looking at that chat. Like some of the viewers are going, they look perfect to me. You know, they look almost like what are you looking at here? But again, the judges have a very acute and trained eye, and it's pretty seldom that you see a 10, but they are looking for that perfect takeoff. Great position in the air with no legs splitting apart, no scruffiness, making sure you're nice.
Here's the youngster, Simone Leadhead, only 21 years old. And safe to say, guys like Gary Hunt have pioneered and paved the way for youngsters like Simone in the sport of cliff diving. Leadhead coming in hot right there. Nice dive by the 21-year-old Canadian in her first year as a permanent diver. I'll tell you what, we might be talking a lot about her this season.
She's all about business. I mean, I like her demeanor and confidence on the platform as well. She got up there and she's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Good, strong takeoff. Yeah, she's like, yep. So watch this. Bend the knees, arms reaching up, strong, into the pike. And they're coming around. So last year she actually tried out the quad half. That means like a front 4 somersaults with a half twist. One of the hardest dive the women are performing. But she said, look, no, I'm just going to stick to the dives that I feel comfortable with at the moment. And then midway through the season, she'll reassess and see if she can come back to that more difficult dive. But I think that's a really smart thing to do. And it's a great way to get the confidence up, you know. I mean, she's diving well, led the way after the first round. I think that's a smart thing to do.
She moves into the lead with a 2:23.55. A couple more people weighing in. Owen Weymouth is on there. Seen him dive in the series.
Oh, the Weymouth.
Owen's there, and then Karina Popovich. So,
Karina,
Constantine's sister, right?
Yep.
And then
resides in Australia. Or on the cruise ship.
And then Maria's asking, what's the background of the jury? I'm guessing that's the judges. As we look at the leaderboard, Leadhead, Quintero, Panizzi. But the background, you can explain more because you know the judges personally well over the many years, but Cyril Lemechkon, what a fantastic diver from France. Jeff Arman as well from Australia. Ginger Huber, I mean, you can't say enough about her. She's been on our World Series, and Anka Piper and Marion Reef. They all have Olympic experience and
Some
show experience.
Great ping pong experience, you know, like some transfer from ping pong to...
Are you talking about Jeff?
Yeah. Sorry, Jeff. Well, he can't hear me. He's judging anyway. Whatever.
All right. Next to drop into Lake Vuolikymeni. Here, 20 minutes south of Athens, Greece, for the first stop of the series is Molly Carlson. Love watching her dive all the time.
Molly was actually just signaling to the safety divers. You can see her actually kind of making this sort of hand signal, and that means running takeoff. So she's going to mark out the run up to allow her to do her hardest dive, front quad somersault with a half twist, using that run up to get a little extra rotation and height. Pretty nerve-wracking.
Oh, Molly Carlson once again. Showing you why she is the runner-up. 2 years in a row on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. And we know, again, she's King Ka-Keeley Trophy capable. It's just with Rhiannon Infland, it's always tough. You know, either you got to have a really, really good day. Molly's had a few of those. She's had some wins. In fact, 2 wins. Only 19 starts, 15 podiums in the 19 starts that she has entered on the World Series. Phenomenal diver.
That really infectious smile. I was just looking at her body language after the dive. You can see her just doing this arm flick back in the backstroke, like, oh, because there's, you know, there's a lot of anxiousness, you know, there's a lot of fear involved with these dives. I mean, they're hard. In the back of your mind, you're also thinking, I hope I know where I am in this dive. And that's one of the biggest fears of the athlete. So you, the viewers, wondering, like, do they have no fear? There's always fear. But the biggest fear is definitely losing your way in the air, right? And at these particular dives, you've got to really make sure your head position's right. Your head is the control center of the control tower.
4 rounds of diving. We are in the 3rd round for the women. We'll go into the 3rd round for the men next as Molly Carlson easily pulls into the lead. Not easily, over lead head. Fellow country mate. So we got Maple Leaf 1 and 2 right now with Carlson, followed by lead head Quintero from Colombia in 3rd right now. So Elisa Cassetti is in a really good position. She was 6th in Boston. That was her personal best. Now, will today here at the first stop in Athens be the best for the 21-year-old Italian? We'll find out right now between Leadhead at 21 and right here, Elisa Cassetti, 21, a couple really strong youngsters popping onto the series this season. Oh, beautiful in the air. Oh, you're kidding me right there. That's how you put the pressure on the veterans. Elisa Cassetti, the wild card diver, getting after it. Getting coached by Alessandro De Rose. Over the years, influenced by him, the great Italian diver.
Yeah, they've got a really strong program back in Italy. And they're definitely working closely with trampoline experts. Marcus Stuckner leading the charge, Alessandro De Rose also guiding the new generation of cliff diving athletes. And there's some pretty mighty fine and mighty talented young Italian men coming up the ranks as well. But Elisa Cassetti, very graceful dive within with triple half tuck. Molly Carlson, pretty impressed by that.
Oh, wow, Molly, she's smiling again.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick.
$1 million smile. $1 million smile.
Hey, real quick. One of our viewers is asking about diet, like kind of preparation beforehand, Joey. I know what your diet's like.
Oh, man, it's
but yeah, so I'm pretty sure it's changed since your diving days. But is there a diet, like a diet or a prep thing that the divers do right now, or is it all different for everybody?
Look, definitely before competitions, I think you need to be a little bit, well, in general, diet is always, of course, really important. You know, you need to make sure you have a good, nutritious diet, you know, enough protein to maintain the muscle mass. But particularly before the competition, you've got to find a way to eat light. You know, bananas, muesli, cereal. You don't want anything too heavy in the morning. And yeah, you just got to probably snack a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to have a huge meal before the competition. You might feel a little bit heavy before the dive.
And I don't mean your diet's bad.
Down.
I don't mean your diet's bad, by the way. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah. I mean,
all right, so
your gym membership ran out.
That was mine. That was mine.
I got you.
All right, so somebody who's been in the gym a lot and doing a great job is Rhiannon Ifland, getting the crowd pumped up, nice and loose, as she should be. She's won 7 King Kong Keeley trophies. This is the final dive for the women today in the 3rd round. As she leads it, that's why she's diving last. We're getting the 3rd round of the men. And that'll wrap things up before we go back live tomorrow on Red Bull TV. We'll help you join Joey, myself, David O'Caoimh, 3:30 p.m. CEST to see who wins the first stop of the season here in Athens, Greece. Before we head to Boston in 2 weeks, followed by Italy, Ireland, Norway, Canada, Turkey. Australia is the final stop, the home city of Rhiannon Ifland.
See the safety divers splashing the water. That does not make the water any softer. It helps the athletes see the surface. Rhiannon Ifland's most difficult dive now for round 3. Back triple double twist.
There you go. Rhiannon Ifland capping things off with the 3rd round, the final diver on the women's side today. We'll see what the judges weigh in at. Carlson with a 2:29 leads it. And with that 4th round, anything can happen and anything can change, Joey, in that round. So this is far from over when you look at the results, no matter the result that comes in for Rhiannon Ifland.
So Rhiannon Ifland, sometimes she switches her dives around. So round 3, deciding to put her most difficult dive in. And then she likes to normally go into the 4th and final round, which we'll see tomorrow, with her inward triple half, which is normally her highest scoring dive in terms of the individual scores from the judges. This is the dive with the highest degree of difficulty. So you've got to play that balance between risk versus reward. So you want high degree of difficulty, but there's no point in doing it unless you get good scores. Still a very good takeoff, good position in the air. Just slight miscalculation on the entry.
On the entry in that landing zone right there. Uncharacteristic once again for Rhiannon Ifland. That'll mean Molly Carlson will be leading as she gets a big hug from her coach, Steph. And Ifland with a 2:29.40 after you add all 3 together is in 2nd. She's been in this position before. It's always a little tit for tat with Carlson and Ifland coming into that 4th and final round. You know what I mean? It seems like we're always in this position, but it is tight between 2:29.50, Ifland 0.10 behind. So basically tied going into the 4th round. Coach Stefan is doing a great job with that Canadian program. When you look at Molly Carlson and, of course, Simone Leadhead now. A beautiful shot. 20 minutes south of Athens, Greece. 2:29.50 leads the way coming into the women's 4th and final round. That'll take place tomorrow. So Ifland and Leadhead. So the Canadians, 2 of them in the top 3, Rhiannon Ifland. Sandwiched between is Alyssa Cassetti, the 21-year-old, in 4th. How about Maria Paula Quintero? Not bad, sitting in 5th. And there's 7 through 12. And we'll go back to the judges area with David O'Caoimh, who's with one of the judges, Marion Rafe. Dave.
Speak up, Dave.
Hello, Dave.
What exactly are you looking for from the divers?
So exactly what we're looking for is we want to see a perfect dive, which means we look at the takeoff, we look at the flight and the entry. And of course we want to see, without a splash, a dive going straight into the water with a perfect takeoff, with a wonderful flight, and then we go out for a 10.
All right, and this year we have a new format. How are you finding the results in terms of, if we just saw round 3 of the women, did it have any impact, or are people diving the same?
Actually, I cannot tell if this has an impact because it's so new. We will see it after the end of the competition, but as so far, I really like it.
All right, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to watching you judge. You do have the best position in the house, to be fair. Thank you, Marion. All right, pretty cool. Get a little bird's eye view there, close up, which is nice and sweet.
Yeah, good spot, Dave. What else is going on down there? How's the vibe with the crowd?
You know what? It's really good. I'm a little bit away from it now. The music's loud, but the crowd is filling up. I think tomorrow it's going to be pretty insane. So anyway, let's get to round 3 of the men. I'm looking forward to it.
Dave, can you get in the water? Do a bit of shooting from there. Do it. You can manage it.
No.
He can tread some water. He's a good synchronized swimmer.
Look at the shot of Lake Volyemeni. 20 minutes south of Athens, Greece, stop number 1 of the series. We wrapped up the women's round 3. Round 4 is tomorrow. Now it's time to dive into men's round 3. 12 men in total. We'll kick it off with Braden Rumpet. And there are the top divers, 7 through 12. Jonathan Paredes will dive last. Before him, Jimeno, Konstantin Popovic, so all the big names in the mix. It's going to be a good men's round 3. And one of the questions from Owen Weymouth, how many donuts has Joey eaten this week?
I've got it. 7.
You ate?
Today,
I haven't seen you eat any donuts this week.
7 donuts, Owen Weymouth. Bit of an inside joke there. Anyway, I won't go into it.
So this guy right here, Braden Rumpet, he actually got a last-minute invite, right, to this event. And a lot of the viewers want to know, how do you qualify for the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series? It's not easy.
No, it's not. So, I mean, obviously the previous season's results. So if you're in the top 4 in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series rankings, then you are automatically qualified for the next season. Then an additional 4 athletes through the world rankings. So they'll add up the actual series points from the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, plus some World Championship events with World Aquatics. And then you look at that tally. And so that makes 8 permanent series divers. And then depending on your results, there'll be some wildcard spots as well. So that's a great opportunity for up-and-coming divers like we're seeing here with Braden Rumpet. And it's also really helpful for an athlete like this to have that at the first stop. So if you perform well, then you might get the chance to come to more competitions. So that's the idea of the wildcards. It's definitely a way to get yourself into the sport and give yourself a chance of being a permanent series diver one day.
And there you go, Braden Rumpet, the 23-year-old from New Zealand. His second ever start on the World Series, puts one down. Representing New Zealand, resides in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, close to the new high dive facility. Steve Lobu helps run there, who's weighing in on our chat. Works at a kite surfing shop when not launching 90 feet from the cliffs. Got a big house there with all kinds of divers and stuff. Sounds like kind of frat house, sorority house combination there.
Sounds like back to college days. It's got to be fun.
It sounds like one of those MTV beach house things. Or
yeah, to be a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Got a question here on the chat. My lifelong partner, 18 years and counting, is part of the rescue team.
Right
They're in the water there. So and she's really proud of Opimia Agaleo. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced that.
That's all right, but the safety divers, his Rumpet score will come in. I mean, it's such an important role. We don't give him enough props, right? I mean, we should be talking about him more and more and more, but to be in that water the entire day.
No, they play a really vital role.
Yeah,
it's
huge.
Part safety, and also, as we were saying earlier, they splash the surface of the water, helping the athletes see the surface to make those last-minute adjustments. And we've also got a very experienced person in the water, Chuppers from Portugal, who normally goes to every single competition. And very experienced guy, and the athletes feel very comfortable when he's in the water. along with the local team here in Greece.
All right, here's Dave Kulturi for his third round dive, the American. 64th career start on the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. Kulturi, always watching him twist. It's so fun to watch those twists. The former NCAA Purdue diver, and along with his buddies Steve Lobu and Kyle Mitrone. Good crew.
Yeah, the three
and who else do we have in that American?
Andy Jones.
Andy Jones. We got Andy Jones in there, that whole crew. I miss that whole squad, you know?
Oh, they were hilarious. It's pretty funny videos. But David Kulturi, it was pretty cool actually watching that dive. You could actually hear the crowd going, whoa! They love those twisting dives. He's actually done 5 twists in the past. So watch this, wrapping. He'll do 3.5 twists coming out. There, arms coming wide, stops. Uses those abdominal muscles to dig deep. Does a great job with the entry. And Trace, as you were saying, he's in great physical shape. Really into the high performance aspect of sport.
Yeah.
Nutrition, strength and conditioning training, mental training. He works hard.
Lots of 8s. The high and the low of the 5 judges are tossed. The remaining 3 multiplied by the degree of difficulty for the total score. All 4 rounds count. We're looking at men's round 3, 12 divers in total. Dave Kulturi is the second to dive. So you look at it in yellow, 110 on that particular dive. Then you look over to the right, in red, 226.45 is the grand total. That'll put him into first and set the tone here in the men's third round. Remember, watch us tomorrow again for the 4th and final round dives for both the men and the women. 12 men, 12 women on Red Bull TV. Live, 3:30 p.m. CEST. Follow us at Red Bull Cliff Diving. And, of course, if you're out there taking some photos, hashtag Red Bull Cliff Diving for us. It'd be awesome. Here we go. Miguel Garcia, 33-year-old Colombian, for his third round dive. First stop of the 2024 season here in Athens, Greece. 99th stop in the history of the series, and we heard him land in the water. Miguel Garcia. We'll watch on the replay how that went on the entry.
That's super interesting. I was watching Miguel. He's very ritualistic, I would call it, just before he gets off the platform. Well, actually, to be honest, a lot of the divers will have their set little kind of things that they do. But, yeah, you can get quite sort of superstitious before you dive. There's certain things that you want to do to make sure that you feel comfortable. I had my own little superstitions, you know, sort of shooting down towards the water, saying that's my target. There it is, help me hone in. But a really squeaky clean entry. So there's the jump, very powerful, and there's a twist. Just looked like he was a tad yeah, he went past the point of where he should have come out of. So he's pretty lucky there, to be honest. Should have come out a little bit earlier, so he started to get a little bit of a corkscrew action going on in the middle of the dive. But he stayed cool and kept it together. But had he have come out much later than that, I dare say that would not have been a good situation.
Reminder, the heights of the platforms. The men's platform right now is 27 meters, 90 feet off the water. That'll be consistent through the entire 8 stops of the World Series. The women, 21 meters, 70 feet. 3-second free fall, 85 kilometer per hour, 53 mile per hour descent into the water, 10 G's of physical force. It's 3 times the height of a traditional 10-meter platform. If you just joined us, Trace Worthington here, Joey Zuber next to me. Live on YouTube with this third round of the men. We'll be back with you again, Red Bull TV tomorrow for the 4th and final dive.
Looking at Sergio's little Speedos there. He had a couple of chilies on there. Hey?
Yeah.
Keeping it spicy. I don't mind that. Pretty keen on my little salsa for my tacos. Got a pretty high threshold.
He used to do some salsa dancing up on that platform.
Yeah, but bring back the salsa dance.
Where is
Sergio.
that? Sergio?
I'll have to have a word to him.
Yeah. I text him right now.
Get all the fans out there. They can ping him on his Instagram and say, hey, bro,
Yeah.
pick up your dancing game
Salsa
again.
dancing up there. Not all about diving. Oh?
Gain a quad. Here we go. Reverse 4 somersaults. Yeah.
Yes.
I just love that kid down there just going,
I mean, everybody watching can relate to some type of somersault, whether they've watched it or performed it, Joey, right?
Right.
Imagine doing that many from that high into the water. I mean, one little mistake and you're a goner.
Oh, it is. And actually, yeah, he did have a pretty nasty landing in Mosta one time on that very dive. And for some reason, sometimes you're having a bit of an anomaly. You don't know why sometimes, but you just come out of the dive at the wrong spot. Occasionally, you will get some athletes that will get confused between the surface of the water and the sky. So sometimes the sky and the water might have a similar color. And so you're always looking to spot the water there. You can see him flick his head back. A really big flick looking at the water for the third time there. So occasionally, like I said before, you might get mixed up. You might look at the sky instead of the water, or be counting the sky instead of the water. And every now and then, yeah, you do see a bad landing as a result of losing your aerial awareness. And I remember the time when he had to get back on the platform and do that dive again, and he was so nervous, but also so relieved and very proud of himself for getting back up on the horse.
Steve Labou weighed in. He said, Kulturi is grit personified.
You mean he
what is
eats
that,
grits?
Steve? Yeah.
Injuries, and he definitely knows how to persevere and
Yeah, he does.
get back on track.
All right, so Guzman, the grand total of 216.40. Just a reminder, all 4 dives are added together. Third round of the men underway now. Jonathan Paredes, who leads the charge after 2 rounds of diving on his way up. I mean, that's just difficult enough as it is. Look at these tripping over rocks. I mean, it's not an easy way to even get to the platform before you launch off a 27-meter area. So Matt Cooper.
He had bare feet as well, so pretty big dive here. Back quad, 2 twists. 90 feet high, 27 meters up.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
Right there. Bit of a splash. Gini Van Kampvik, one of the female divers and wildcard divers. We'll see her, I believe, in Boston. Matt had that bad landing. I mean, this is only his 4th appearance in the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. You saw that crash that he took in Sisikon, Switzerland. One of those crashes that you look at it, Joey, and I look at it from the outside in, and I'm like, that guy's probably not going to do one of these events again. I mean, that looked pretty hairy.
Yeah,
but here he is.
That was a tough landing.
Yeah.
And then we had a training camp in Fort Lauderdale, and I was there with him, and I actually watched him get that dive off again after he had that bad landing, and it was I think a nerve-wracking moment for everybody. I was standing next to Genie just going, I hope this all comes together, and he did. So very proud of Matt for doing that, but he's a very good diver, comes from a great technical background. And he's doing some really big degree of difficulty dives really early on in his career, and that is impressive.
His wife, Jeannie, who I mentioned, also a diver who performs in shows and exhibitions along with Matt. So he comes in 4th place after the 3rd round with a 2:12.90. So Matt is 5 to go of 12 if you've just joined us. We've wrapped up the women's 2nd and 3rd round. That was here live, and now we're underway with the men's 3rd round halfway through. Don't forget to send us your questions on YouTube or TikTok. We're reading them. TikTok, we're reading them right now. Sergio's score, somebody was asking. By the way, it's a 216.40, so Guzman sits in 3rd right now to answer that question for the viewer. Catalin Peretta from Romania, yes, and he gets it done there, but bit of a splash. It seems like the timing in this first stop, Joey, it's always getting things out, and you know, they're training in the pools. Explain where the training happens before the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series start. It typically is on platforms in a very controlled environment, and then the first stop, we see a lot of people trying to get adjusted, you know, to the cliffs and to the platforms and the different water types.
Yeah, so predominantly there's a lot of training. You got to work on the skills, a lot of the jumps and all the technical parts on the low heights, on 5 meters and 7 meters for months before the season. Quite a lot of the athletes went to Fort Lauderdale before this competition to get their dives off, to shake off that pre-season rust, let's call it. Now, Kat actually has been feeling under the weather, so I think he had the flu and quieter temperatures, so he's not feeling the best, so it's kind of understandable that he didn't quite get the execution right on the dive. I actually thought the takeoff and the flight and the rotation was awesome. Like, the dive was just looking like it was on fire, and he just sort of stayed in that shape and let the dive roll over. So you kind of had it, but when you're not feeling that good diving from 27 meters, it's understandable.
Can't imagine. I mean, it's tough enough to stay consistent over 8 stops, but to be ill at one of them can throw the whole season off and make a difference between, you know, 1st and 5th place. But if anybody can do it, pull it together, it's Catalin Preda, such a phenomenal diver. Preda with a 2:18.60. When you add the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round dives together, sits in 3rd. Volturi's still in the lead. Don't forget to follow us at Red Bull Cliff Diving, and on Instagram, check out the Red Bull Cliff Diving Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Obviously, you're watching us there right now if you're listening, so awesome photos, videos posted for the past few days. Our photography team, phenomenal on site there, so check out all their stuff. And all season long at these scenic locations.
Get ready to be impressed. Here we go. Front quad, 2.5 twist.
Alexei Prigorov putting it down. Is that the first running takeoff that we've seen this season? We've seen one earlier.
No, we've seen one. Well, Molly did the
one, yeah.
So she did her running takeoff, which is the front quad for the women's competition. Alexei Prigorov, I mean, Gary Hunt was the originator, the initiator, the original OG who did that dive back in 2010. So it took 9 years until we saw someone else do that dive, and that was Alexei Prigorov, which demonstrates how far Gary Hunt was ahead of the field. But it's all about Alexei Prigorov. What an incredible shot, really showing how high that platform is and how busy Alexei Prigorov is to get this dive done. And it's a very heavy dive, he says. When I mean heavy, there's a lot of physical effort that goes in. Pike there, twist. There's 2 twists at the beginning. Then watch here, it comes out digging deep. The abs have to work really hard. You have to hold on really hard with your arms as well. When you're rotating that quickly, your arms actually just want to ping off. So you need quite a lot of arm strength to hold that shape.
And if you're new to this sport, Joey, I'd be looking at this going, why doesn't everybody do the running takeoff? You know, doesn't that help you?
Yes. I mean,
I know there's so many different dives and different difficulties you can choose, but
yeah, I mean, if you really want to push the limits with those type of dives, and Aiden Heslop actually does a dive like this and adds an extra twist, you really need that running takeoff. So you can do some standing takeoffs and do difficult dives, but maybe not as difficult dives with the running takeoff.
All right, so Prigorov leads the way with that 2:36.15 is the grand total after 3 rounds of diving. Volturi still hanging in there in 2nd. Miguel Garcia in 3rd right now. So Prigorov was 7 to go of 12 men. James Lichtenstein of the United States, the only permanent diver from the USA on the 2024 series, will dive next. Said he's been watching the NBA playoffs. That's all he's been doing. So what have you been doing? He's like diving and watching the playoffs.
That's cool.
NBA.
Well, at least he's like staying focused on sport.
Good life, dude. Playing a little disc golf.
He got a little bit intense with the disc golf.
Yeah, he said he
had a few injuries.
He said he had to chill out.
Rein it back.
He was like, my arm is getting sore. Oh, this is gonna be cool.
Yeah, he needs his arm strength for a dive like this. So this is pretty wild, folks. Arm stand back. 4.5 somersaults. You can hear the spectators there, just in awe of the dive.
There you go, James Lichtenstein with his arm stand dive. Miguel's like, yeah, that's pretty good. But James been surprising us over the past couple years, right? He came out of the scene as a wild card diver, got a top 3 finish out of nowhere. We're like, what?
The party sport.
And we're like, you know, that's kind of a flash in the pan situation. And all of a sudden he gets another one. and then he hung in there, trains hard. Now he's a permanent diver on the series. He's been doing a great job.
Look, really talented athlete. I just think he's one of those divers. When you hear the word, he's like a cat, you know, and a cat always lands on his feet, and he just understands where he is in the air at all times, and he loves these rotating dives. So you have athletes that prefer flipping as opposed to twisting. So again, each athlete will say, okay, I prefer doing a bit more twisting action, a bit more rotating. But he busted out that back quint somersault, and that was one of the best things for the sport, in my opinion. It was just so fun to watch, to see so many flips in just 2.8 seconds.
Somebody's asking what dive has had the highest score and the highest DD. We can answer that. The highest DD has been Aiden Heslop.
6.2.
6.2. He's done the hardest dive, and then the highest score, we have that right here.
Yeah. So, I mean, the highest competition score
overall after 4 rounds.
Yeah, it was Constantine. You know, that was 492. But then the actual highest individual dive score was Konstantin Popovic, 171 points, and that was in Boston.
And for the women.
And for the women, Rhiannon Iflan in Ireland with a bunch of 10s. That was 129 points. What a, incredible diving. Both of those dives scoring 10s.
So now Aiden Heslop, speaking of high DD, we just mentioned him, Joey did, as performing the highest degree of difficulty. Now he's going to also be performing the highest DD, followed by the next person as well. Konstantin Popovic will have the 2 highest DDs of this competition so far. So this will be fun to watch. His heart rate is going up.
This is intensamente.
Yeah.
Very, very, very intense. So imagine that you've done no exercise, but your heart rate is jack. 149 beats per minute. Back 4 somersaults, 3 twists.
Yes. Go.
Busy. We're right to the end.
You and I were talking. When we were talking the other day, we're like, we just love when Aiden pops up to the, to the platform or the cliff. It's just like we're going to see something cool.
He just shreds. He's like a little surfy grommy.
Go for it.
No, but he's so acrobatic, so dynamic, and he's just got a twist that zips. There are some people that have that natural ability. They just know how to get into the twist really quickly. And he's not a short diver. He's the same height as me. I think he's 183 centimeters. And so to be able to move that quickly and be that tall, that is a powerful diver. Bending the legs, arms coming up to get the rotation going. There's the twist. He's got that style of twist where he wraps the arms across the chest. A little bit of a kink, a little bit of a wobble. Keeps it straight, hones it in. Looking for the entry. A very, very busy dive. Fighting right to the end, and the scores.
The high and the lower toss, so the 8 and 1 7.5 will be thrown out. The remaining 3 multiplied by that high degree of difficulty. Nice. And the reason why Heslop now will pull into the lead with those scores as a 128.25, absolutely massive score in his 3rd round. So adding all 3 so far together, 278.85. The 4th and final round for the men and the women will happen tomorrow. The drama will unfold to see who will win the first stop of 8 in the 2024 season.
So proud. Wow. Oh, that's so stressful.
I think she's more stressed about Aiden than her own dives once in a while. I think she's admitted that before, too.
It's funny, we're a bit of a running joke. Every time one of them does really well, it's like, hey, you going to share the prize money or what?
All right,
we're going to split this as a team, you know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about this degree of difficulty. So 5.8 again, Konstantin Popovic, the reigning Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion and King Ka-Keeley Trophy winner coming into this season. One of only 5 men to win the King Ka-Keeley Trophy since 2009.
Way up there on the Richter scale, 5.8 degree of difficulty. very steady handstand, and he'll need that for a dive like this. Back arm stand, 3.5 somersaults, 3 twists in the pike position. Totally bonkers.
Oh, keeping it together, Konstantin Popovic. I talked to David O'Caoimh a little bit earlier. He said he heard that Popovic had a little bit of, growing injury right there. Landed a little off, and you've been there before, right? So sometimes if you land a little off, it'll kind of get you in that area. And how hard is it for him? You see it's all taped up to keep his legs together on that particular dive.
Yeah.
After that, yesterday.
Particularly, like, once you've had a pretty bad adductor tear, it tends to kind of plague you a little bit. It keeps coming back to haunt you, particularly, the midway point of the season. And in these twisting dives, because the twisting dives, watch his feet overlap there. So he's trying to squeeze it's a little trick. You kind of overlap your feet to try and keep your legs together. That's when it gets really hard on those dives. In the air, when you're twisting, your legs just want to fly apart. And then when you land, now looking like a bit of a twist at the bottom of the dive. So I'll just be keen to see if the judges pick that up as well. So it's very important that they have to be nice and square at the bottom. If you start twisting through the water, there should be some deductions.
Hardest part of the day right there. So Konstantin Popovic will await the judges' scores. Carlos Ameno is next, followed by Jonathan Paredes, the final 2 men in the 3rd round. 130.50, big score for the King Kaakili Trophy winner. And the Romanian Shark Popovic, he will move into the lead with a grand total after 3 rounds of 284.50. Popovic, Heslop, Liechtenstein from the United States. Remember, all 4 rounds count. So today is just important to possibly get into that top 5, get a solid score coming into that 4th and final round. And anything can happen tomorrow when we go live at 3:30 p.m. CEST. All right, Carlos Ameno. Now from wild card diver in 2023 to permanent diver in 2024 after a phenomenal season winning in Mostar. That was a huge party, Joey, and that brought him right up into the top 3 for the overall series. Highest a wild card diver besides Molly Carlson has done. I mean, it's and Marianne Niflin, but right there in the mix of the famous wild card diver success stories.
Yeah, that was definitely a goosebump competition, that one in Bosnia. With Carlos walking his way up for his 4th and final dive, saying, I believe, holding his finger up.
Well, I better believe right now, because he's about to do an arm stand dive, 27 meters, 90 feet off the lake. This can't be easy, Joey, especially if you have a little breeze of wind, huh?
Mm-hmm. So same dive as what James Liechtenstein did. So back arm stand, 4.5 somersaults. These guys are so brave.
Oh, man, a lot going on. Carlos Ameno. Great way to set the pace going into tomorrow's final round. Ameno, a great guy, has a smile on his face all season long last year. So modest about his diving. That's what I loved about him. Not that others aren't, but he was just so modest and calm about his success last season, Joey. It was good.
Yeah, he took it in his stride. I mean, it just his smile was infectious. His attitude has been great. Real joy to be around. And he put in the hard work, and he deserves that. I think he should be proud of himself. Great toe point, beautiful line there. So the legs will bend and then flick to help generate that rotation. He does like a little bit of a leg pump here. His legs will come in and out to try and help him orientate himself for those dives. He managed to install a platform in his training center in Madrid. So he's got this really cool 15-meter platform there. And that's really helped the new generation learn and train. And also some people are actually chiming in and asking, where you can learn how to cliff dive. So there's a great high diving training club in Spain, also in Fort Lauderdale. There's training centers in China as well.
So Jimeno with 270.90. Not enough to stay in there in the top 2 where he has been coming into this round this third round. So Popovich, Heslop, Jimeno, and now it's up to Jonathan Paredes. To show what he's got, to see if he can remain in the top spot going into the fourth and final round. Tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. CEST, live on Red Bull TV. We'll take you all the way through it. We'll crown a champion at the first stop of the 2024 season of 8. Get a really good feel of who's been doing their training since the last stop in New Zealand, 2023. Jonathan Paredes. Looking beautiful in the air and drilling the entry is Johnny Paredes. And I'll tell you what, over the past couple years and the results that he has been struggling to get, injuries and other things that have gone on in his diving, Joey, this should give him a little more confidence, especially going into that round 3 or 4 tomorrow.
And you can just listen to his reaction, just like, oh.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's like, it's a lot of pressure before these dives. So back triple, had a bit of a hard landing on that back in 2021 in San Rafael, France. But really clean entry, and it's amazing to hear that entry in real life. You can hear this sort of sound, you know, really tearing through the water. Does a really good job that last bit as well. He just knows how to lift the chest at the right time. So here's the 2.5 twist at the beginning. Boom, arms come out wide. That's the relieving moment. Into the pike, little squirrely. Arms coming wide to kind of control and check, and he just bends and then lifts nice and sharp. So he's really good at that last part of the dive.
Do you think the judges see it? It goes by so quick, right? His feet just split apart for a quick second, but you know.
They're pretty accustomed to it though. They'll see those details. They're pretty keen.
So Jonathan Paredes, after his third round dive, he'll keep 2 8s and a 7.5. So a 110 on that particular dive. You see that in yellow? 268.85. So Jonathan Paredes won't remain in the top spot yet. He'll still remain in the top 5 heading in to the fourth and final round tomorrow here from Athens, Greece. Still should give Johnny Paredes some good confidence going into that fourth and final round. But no surprise here. Konstantin Popovich, the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series champion from 2023, leads the charge going into the fourth round, 284.50. Heslop, again, they're always going back and forth all season long, and here they go again to kick off the season going back and forth. But Carlos Jimeno, man, he's showing his skills after a great season last year.
Yeah.
Now he's kicking things off very nicely. And again, Jonathan Paredes gaining some confidence. Liechtenstein hanging in there.
Yep.
Super consistent. Kulturi still has some DD to throw to see if he can get back up on that leaderboard. And there you go, from 8th through 12th. That completes the men's third round competition here from Athens, Greece. So there's Konstantin Popovich, a big smile on his face, and leading on the women's side going into the fourth round, is Molly Carlson, and she's with Dave. Hey, Dave. Hey, Molly.
So, Molly, do you think it's down to the new format? Has been the off-season? What's been the secret sauce so far?
You know, I thought I wasn't going to be leading after missing my second dive, but I was like, okay, you know what? You're here, you've put in the work, it's time to go out and nail this quad. I've done 2 already before that one in practice, and you know, I spiced up my order. I changed my strategy, I put my hard one today so that I can really enjoy tomorrow and get some high scores, so I'm really happy.
And that new format, I find it a little bit more challenging, having 3 days of competition in a row.
You know, it's really exhausting, and it's very, you know, you have to be mentally strong for this. It's a new level of confidence that you need. To be able to be on 3 days in a row takes a lot, and I'm here to do it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Molly. Good luck tomorrow. Trace, Joey, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, mate. Great job
Dave.
down there.
Yeah, great job down there, buddy. That was super fun and capturing all the action. David O'Caoimh down there. And don't forget, tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. CEST live on Red Bull TV. We'll be back with you for the 4th and final round and crown a champion from the first stop here in Athens, Greece. But for now, for our entire team, I'm Trace Worthington. He's Joey Zuber. We will see you tomorrow for the 4th and final round. Thanks for watching, you guys.